Ray Charles, I love Ray Charles. He's my musical Jesus. I remember when I first started playing in school.
Depends on when you ask me whether or not it's a good place.
Are you happy?
It depends. It also depends on when you ask. Asking right now? No, not particularly.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody dared to speak it aloud, but everyone in the industry knew. At Motown, if you were gay, you had to stay silent, you had to pretend, you had to live like you were invisible. This wasn't just a record label, it was a machine that controlled every corner of an artist's private life. You won't believe that Motown, the cradle of timeless hits, once hailed as the black music empire, hid such horrifying truths. Behind the stage lights and the smiles on album covers was a suffocating world where gay artists were forced to live double lives, to bury their true selves or risk being erased. Some lost fame, fortune, some lost their lives. Motown created legends, but no one truly grasped how agonizing the real lives of those legends were. The story I'm about to tell will reveal things they never dared to say. What did Motown do to them? Why were those incredible voices treated like criminals after hearing this? You'll never look at Motown the same way again. In the winter of 1959, Detroit was bone-chillingly cold. On West Grand Boulevard, a 29-year-old man named Berry Gordy Jr. stood quietly before a rundown little house, clutching $800 borrowed from family. He wasn't just betting on a vague dream, he was silently laying the foundation for a music empire that could reshape America. That place, the house with a small sign reading Hitsville USA, was the birthplace of Motown Records, then humbly called Tamla Records. Few could imagine that this guy, who'd written songs for obscure singers, harbored such a bold ambition to take black artists from impoverished streets and turn them into global icons. Celebrated by white audiences too. But the machine Berry built, dazzling and ambitious, carried a ruthless streak. It devoured the weak, crushing countless fates that dared to step inside. Detroit in the 1950s was a stifling land of injustice. Racism was an invisible barbed wire strangling black lives. Their music was boxed into race records, played on a few segregated radio stations, absent from major stages or prestigious TV shows. In that climate, Berry saw a crack in the wall of prejudice, a chance to break boundaries, to let black melodies ring in every home, from Harlem's poor streets to Beverly Hills' lavish mansions. In spring 1960, Tamla officially became Motown Records, a nod to Detroit's car industry identity and a defiant challenge to the entrenched system of discrimination. Berry wasn't a dreamer. He was a cold strategist, inspired by auto assembly lines. He designed Motown like a hit-making factory. Singers, songwriters, producers, dancers all were cogs in a seamless system. In 1961, he founded Jobet Publishing, retaining ownership of every song released under Motown's banner. That move not only secured massive profits, but gave Berry absolute power control over every step. From concept to final cut. The first artists to walk into Hitsville USA were young, brimming with raw talent and unshaped dreams. Smokey Robinson, a 19-year-old with a voice smooth as a breeze, led the Miracles to their first triumph. By late 1960, Shop Around sold over 1 million copies, dominating charts from Detroit to New York. It was a clear signal that Berry could turn nobodies into icons. But at the same time, dark shadows began creeping behind the spotlight. Motown didn't just make music, it shaped image, style, and lifestyle. In early 1961, Berry created the Artist Development Department, a grueling finishing school. Female singers like Florence Ballard and Diana Ross of the Supremes learned to stand, walk, and smile with elegance, shedding their street roots. Male artists like Eddie Kendricks and David Ruffin of the Temptations were trained to exude polished confidence in every gesture. They learned to hold a glass, drop local slang, and wear pricey suits, becoming glossy versions of themselves. Alien to their core, the cost of this transformation was sleepless nights, endless exhaustion, and pieces of their identity ruthlessly carved away. By late 1961, the Marvelettes took Please Mr. Postman to #1 on Billboard Motown's first nationwide chart topper. Gladys Horton, the group's leader, was just 16 and thought she'd grabbed her dream. But after studio fees, choreography training, and shelved recordings were deducted, her final paycheck barely covered survival. The Motown machine, while churning out million-selling hits, quietly squeezed the life out of those who fueled its glory. In early 1964, the Temptations recorded My Girl, a timeless anthem. But behind the applause, control tightened. Barry oversaw every note, every move, even meddling in artists' personal lives. People like Billy Preston, hiding secrets they couldn't share, or Florence Ballard, whose heart silently cracked, were ground down in that relentless grind. The Motown dream had taken shape, loud and glorious. But the cost was weary souls, lives quietly shattering beneath the blinding glow of an unforgiving music empire. In Motown's brutal churn, Billy Preston was among the young talents swept into its cruelest vortex. In fall 1962, Billy, a 16-year-old piano prodigy, stepped into Hitsville, USA with a resume few could match. He'd performed with Ray Charles, played organ for the Beatles. But beneath his calm exterior was a truth he couldn't reveal. Billy was gay. In an era when such a difference was taboo, especially in Motown's family-friendly image machine, Billy knew the line between success and ruin was one confession away. While recording with the Supremes in spring 1963, Billy began to feel the probing stares of executives. Subtle reminders about his clothes and behavior, all aimed at controlling every detail of his image. Despite shining in collaborations like Marvin Gaye's Ain't That Peculiar in 1965, the double life became a crushing weight. Rumors were quashed with staged dates, forced smiles for cameras unable to hide the lingering loneliness backstage. In 1970, Billy left Motown, seeking freedom. But the accumulated scars didn't fade. He slid into addiction, tangled with the law, and faced jail time. Though Nothing from Nothing in 1974 briefly brought him back to the spotlight, drugs clung like a shadow. In June 2006, Billy died at 59 from kidney failure tied to substance abuse. His quiet death was the result of a youth spent hiding, of a machine that pushed artists to the brink to protect its polished facade. Like Billy, Eddie Kendricks was trapped in Motown's gilded cage. In 1961, at 21, he joined the Temptations with a falsetto sweet as a dream. My Girl, released in winter 1964, shot the group to fame's peak. But behind the triumph was an invisible pressure. Whispers about his sexuality began to spread. Motown, under Berry Gordy's calculated grip, insisted on a respectable artist image to keep white audiences hooked. Any deviation, however slight, was dealt with coldly. When Eddie was spotted at a gay bar in fall 1965, a romance with a female singer was staged to hush the gossip. The Temptations were crafted as icons of polished masculinity, the dream men of the 1960s and 70s. Any hint of doubt about a member's sexuality, like Kendricks, was a threat to the brand, though never openly gay. Eddie faced relentless pressure to maintain a ladies' man image. Despite complying, he felt increasingly stifled. He craved freedom to express himself, but Motown controlled his image and creative process. The constraints became a wall. In 1971, after mounting tensions, Eddie left the group, chasing a solo career. Hits like Keep on Truckin' in 1973 brought some success, but the old glory never returned. In his later years, Eddie lived quietly, avoiding the stage. In October 1992, he died of lung cancer at 52. His life mirrored the dark side of a system where personal identity was buried for public approval. If Eddie was worn down by control, David Ruffin's tragedy burned hotter. Joining the Temptations in 1964, David quickly became their core with a raw, soul-stirring voice. When My Girl dropped late that year, his name was tied to the group's legend, but beneath that ideal facade was a fractured soul. Unlike Motown's push for polished gentlemen, David was a fierce, conflicted personality, hard to tame. Early on, he felt Motown's grip not just on art, but on private life. Strict rules on outfits, choreography, and speech were the surface. By 1965, rumors about his sexuality sparked tighter oversight. A staged romance with Tammi Terrell, a young Motown singer, aimed to kill the whispers. But that charade opened a darker, tragic chapter. David spiraled into emotional chaos. Pent-up rage erupted in violence, and his bond with Tammi turned toxic. In summer 1967, in a fit of fury, he attacked her with a helmet. Motown buried such acts to protect its image, but the wounds were permanent. David, though wildly talented, became a victim of pressures he couldn't escape. Drugs, especially cocaine, became his refuge, a noose tightening around his life. By 1968, clashes with the Temptations and Berry Gordy hit a breaking point. His ego and growing discontent led to constant fights with bandmates. Motown, intolerant of instability, cut him loose that summer, once the group's brightest star. David was sidelined. His solo career had fleeting winds. Like My Whole World ended in 1969, but legal troubles and addiction dragged him down. In 1991, he died at 50 from a drug overdose in a Philadelphia house after a chaotic night. His sudden death shocked the world, exposing Motown's underbelly, a place where great talents were often crushed by relentless control and pressure. The voice that moved millions fell silent, carrying wounds partly carved by that system. David wasn't alone in this tragedy. Johnny Bristol, a gifted producer, lived under Motown's stifling shadow. Joining in 1961 at 22, he shunned the spotlight for behind-the-scenes work. With sharp creativity, he shaped hits like Ain't No Mountain High Enough for Marvin Gaye and Tammi Terrell in 1967. But behind the success was a gnawing fear whispers about his sexuality, potentially career-ending in an era when being gay was taboo. In Motown's rigid framework, where Berry Gordy pushed a clean image, any deviation was a threat. Johnny stayed guarded, cautious in every move, every glance. While working with the Supremes in 1965, he overheard gossip about his private life, though never directly confronted. He sensed the executives' scrutiny. Sometimes, he was nudged to attend company events with female colleagues, a way to quiet rumors and secure his role. Beneath his calm front was constant anxiety. He kept working, delivering chart toppers, but each day was a struggle to shield his secret. Leaving Motown in 1973, Johnny chased creative freedom elsewhere. He scored some solo success, like Hang On in There Baby in 1974, but never fully escaped the past's shadow. He lived quietly, avoiding the limelight. When he died in 2004 at 65 of natural causes, his life stood as proof of the cost many paid, losing their true selves to survive Motown's harsh system. Like Johnny, Norman Whitfield was bound by invisible limits. In 1966, at 26, he became a key Motown producer. With bold vision, he pioneered psychedelic soul. Lifting the Temptations to new heights, unconfirmed rumors about his sexuality made him a quiet target of scrutiny. Norman kept his personal life locked away, diving into work to dodge prying eyes. While producing Marvin Gaye's I Heard It Through the Grapevine in 1967, he caught whispers about himself spreading internally, though Berry valued his skill. Norman felt pressure to maintain a safe image. At times, he was asked to attend company parties with a female staffer to squash gossip. Beneath his cool exterior was rage and a sense of coercion, despite driving major successes. He couldn't live as himself. After leaving Motown in 1975, Norman started his own label, but couldn't recapture the old glory. His final years were marred by financial struggles and illness. In 2008, he died at 68 from diabetes complications, free of public scandal. His tragedy lay in silence. Surviving Motown meant not just relentless creation, but sacrificing personal freedom, a trade-off too steep for anyone. If Norman held some status, Florence Ballard, the original soul of the Supremes, wasn't so lucky. In 1959, the 16-year-old stepped into Motown with Diana Ross and Mary Wilson, dreaming of escaping Detroit's Brewster Douglas projects. As founder of the Premettes, later the Supremes. Florence had a powerful, emotive voice, but a traumatic childhood marked by sexual assault and her father's sudden death left deep scars. Motown, promising a new life, seemed her only way out. But Motown didn't run on emotion or loyalty. Barry saw Florence through a branding lens too blunt, lacking the polish needed to charm white audiences. Meanwhile, Diana Ross, with her refined look and lighter voice, was fast-tracked to center stage, though Florence had the group's standout voice. Her role shrank. When Where Did Our Love Go topped charts in 1964, Florence stood on stage, forcing a smile, but inside felt erased. Her name faded from solos, her voice reduced to faint backing harmonies. Day by day, she became a ghost in the group she'd built. Motown's pressure wasn't just on stage. Florence, like other female artists, had to fit a ladylike mold. Sparkling gowns, rehearsed steps, smiles timed to perfection, all part of fame's gilded cage. But what unraveled her wasn't just the polished exterior, it was the subtle discrimination within. By 1965, rumors that Barry wanted to replace her with Cindy Birdsong spread, leaving Florence feeling abandoned in the group she'd co-founded. Humiliation and loss festered, driving her to alcohol to numb the pain. Long, lonely nights with a drink in hand pulled Florence back to memories of a poor childhood. Wounds unhealed and now raw again. Tensions in the group grew as clashes with Diana and Barry mounted. She withdrew, defiant yet desperate. By 1967, it hit rock bottom. Missed shows due to drinking fractured the Supremes beyond repair. Motown, unforgiving of weakness, ousted her that summer, replacing her with Cindy Birdsong, once the group's heart. Florence left with no title, no financial stake, and no protection from the label she'd poured herself into. Unfair contracts stripped her chance to live off music, leaving her destitute, reliant on welfare. While the Supremes soared under Diana Ross's name, later solo efforts sank in public indifference. No one cared for an artist Motown had discarded. In 1976, Florence died at 32 of a coronary thrombosis, a result of years steeped in alcohol and depression. Some pointed to a haunting assault at 17 as a wound that never healed. But Motown's harshness was the final blow. Her death wasn't just a personal tragedy, it was a warning about a system that molded stars and crushed them in silence. If Florence was a stain, Motown couldn't erase. Marvin Gaye's tragedy cut deeper, a tangle of genius and darkness. He arrived at Hitsville, USA in 1961, carrying a silky voice and scars from a childhood under a violent father, a stern pastor with an iron fist. For Marvin, Motown was an escape from that shadow. Stubborn Kind of Fellow in 1962 paved his way. But he never wanted to be just a love song crooner. He yearned to use music to speak on injustice, pain, and what society ignored. But Barry had other plans. He wanted Marvin tied to the Motown sound suite, marketable pop soul. When I Heard It. Through the Grapevine exploded in 1968. Marvin hit commercial peaks but simmered with discontent. He craved his own voice but was boxed into market-friendly limits. The breaking point came when Tammi Terrell, his close duet partner, died in 1970 after battling illness. The emotional blow plunged Marvin into depression, fueling a cocaine dependency. Yet in that pain, he crafted What's Going On, a socially charged masterpiece questioning war, poverty, and hope. Despite Barry's fierce resistance, Marvin fought for his vision. Released in late 1971, the album became an icon, proving meaningful music could still reach the masses. That victory didn't free Marvin. His meager 2.7% royalty rate, plus absurd deductions, left him broke despite stardom. A strained marriage to Anna Gordy deepened his suffocation, and after their 1973 split, he poured his pain into Here. My Dear, a raw, controversial project. Barry disapproved and curbed its release, but Marvin stood firm. By the late 70s, Motown was no home. Marvin left in 1981 for Columbia, but the past clung tight. Drugs, depression, and family strife tore at him. In April 1984, during a fight with his father, Marvin was shot dead a day shy of his 45th birthday. His death, at a career peak, wasn't just a loss, but a tragic coda for a talent suffocated by Motown's grip. If Marvin was a rebel tormented by control, Tammi Terrell was a young star swallowed by her own glow. She joined Motown in 1965, bringing a radiant smile and sweet voice from a Philadelphia girl with big dreams. A past abusive relationship with James Brown didn't break her. It fueled her drive to find safety in music and the stage. Barry quickly saw Tammy's potential, pairing her with Marvin Gaye to form Motown's perfect duet. Ain't No Mountain High Enough in 1967 launched them to stardom, an emblem of a golden era. But behind those flawless love songs, Tammi faced brutal workloads. Like other female artists, she was bound to a ladylike image, graceful, in sensual outfits, always smiling even when exhausted from recording and touring schedules that stretched up to 22 hours a day. Tammy's tragedy wasn't just Motown's glare, but her dark personal ties. In 1966, she fell into a turbulent, dangerous romance with David Ruffin of The Temptations. Beneath his charm, David hid an unstable soul, soon unleashing brutal violence. In summer 1967, a fight turned vicious, leaving lasting marks on Tammi. Motown, guarding its pristine star image, swept it under the rug. But the damage wasn't just physical. Her bright smile grew forced. Her eyes drifted when performing with Marvin. That fall, fate struck harder. During a Virginia show, Tammi collapsed mid-song beside Marvin. Diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor, most would rest and heal. But Motown pressed on. Barry, with a businessman's cold resolve, demanded she work. Hair falling out, vision fading, body wasting to under 95 pounds. Tammi still dragged herself on stage, recording tracks like You're All I Need to Get By in 1968. Motown didn't pause. With rare grit, Tammi clung to the stage until her voice gave out. The cost was steep. In 1970, Tammi died at 24. Her passing stunned fans, crushed Marvin, who withdrew from performing for 4 years. Fans mourned a lost talent, but few knew the grueling toll behind her hits. Her abusive tie to David and Motown's silence were a hidden blade, burying the cruel truth. Tammi left, taking not just a voice that captivated millions, but wounds inflicted by the system that raised her. Beside Tammi, Motown pushed other talents into dead ends. Paul Williams, a founding member of The Temptations, carried a quieter, relentless tragedy. Joining in 1960 at 21, Paul's deep baritone and dynamic dance moves steadied the group. When My Girl hit in 1964, he beamed under the lights. But beneath were scars from a poor childhood and Alabama's bigotry. For him, Motown was once a way out, but the unseen pressures of that supposed haven weighed heavy. Barry wanted The Temptations as paragons of masculinity and class, sharp in suits, precise in steps, clean to draw white fans. Behind the gloss was a bitter truth. The group got just 2.7% royalties after deductions. Despite hits like Don't Look Back, Paul's life stayed lean. Alcohol became his escape when exhaustion surged. Grueling schedules, some days over 20 hours, drained his body and mind. By 1968, Paul was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, making performances physically agonizing. Instead of rest, he was pushed to perform, sometimes drinking to dull the pain. He became a liability to bandmates, especially David Ruffin. As his alcohol reliance grew, isolated, weary, and powerless, Paul sank into a hopeless spiral. In 1971, he was forced out, replaced by Richard Street. He scraped by outside the spotlight, penniless, with deepening depression. In 1933, in despair. Paul died in a car near Motown's headquarters. He was 34. His death was a stark reminder of an entertainment machine's cruelty where talent was discarded when it no longer profited, while Paul was consumed by darkness. Martha Reeves' lead of Martha and the Vandellas, though fierce and resilient, couldn't escape Motown's emotional scars. In 1962, she entered Hitsville, USA with the faith and fire of a young Alabama girl dreaming of conquering the world. Her vibrant, soulful voice shook studio walls. Martha believed Motown would make her dreams real. But soon, she saw it wasn't an artist family but a cold machine, twisting dreams into something unrecognizable. Barry saw Martha's potential but demanded she fit the strict mold for female artists. She had to become a refined lady tight dresses, practiced poise, perfect smiles even when drained from endless tours. In 1963, Heat Wave exploded, igniting America's soul craze. Under bright lights, Martha felt she'd touched her dream, but reality stung. Motown paid her group just 2.7%, minus studio, training, and scrapped recording costs, despite million-selling hits. Martha sometimes couldn't afford new shoes. The job's pressure crushed her. Barry demanded constant tours, sometimes 22-hour workdays, when not on the road. In 1964, Dancing in the Street became a civil rights anthem, and Martha poured her heart into every note. But her body rebelled exhausted, her voice weakened. Yet demands didn't ease, though tough. Martha felt drained dry. Office summons, where she was scolded about her look and demeanor, left her suffocated. Her stage smile endured, but quiet resentment grew a sense of being a commodity in others' hands. By 1967, clashes with Motown peaked. Martha yearned to control her art, to show her musical identity. But Barry pushed for mass appeal soul to fit his business plan. With no choice, she kept recording, performing as her mental health crumbled. Sleepless nights, constant anxiety, and feeling trapped in her own path sapped her faith. In 1972, Martha left Motown, ending a bond steeped in pain and disillusion. Her solo career never recaptured the old shine, no longer profitable. She was sidelined by Motown's power network. Though she survived, Martha carried deep wounds. Reflecting later, she said she endured the pressure as her only way to survive, but the cost was years of loneliness and fatigue. The voice that set stages ablaze was worn down by the system that lifted it. Martha avoided the dire fates of some peers, but her story still warns of Motown's ruthlessness where dreams meant sacrifice. Martha wasn't alone. The Four Tops, one of Motown's top male groups, couldn't escape the grind. In 1963, Levi Stubbs, Ronaldo Obi Benson, Abdul Duke Fakir, and Lawrence Payton joined the label. With Levi's rich soul and their deep sound, they stood out in the pop soul wave. I Can't Help Myself, Sugar Pie Honey Bunch in 1965 shot them to fame, embodying the suave masculinity Barry marketed. But behind the polish was a harsh truth. Like Martha, they got 2.7% royalties after deductions. Despite hits like Reach Out, I'll Be There, in 1966, money was tight. Relentless schedules left Levi singing through throat pain. They gave their all, standing as brothers. But the sense of being wrung dry couldn't be hidden forever. In 1972, Barry's bold move cracked the group. Relocating Motown from Detroit to Los Angeles severed their cultural tie to home. Obi refused to leave Detroit and quit. Though the group carried on with new members, the family core was gone. They kept recording, performing, but years of overload and financial inequity left unhealable rifts. By the late 90s and early 2000s, members passed Lawrence Payton in 1997 from liver cancer, Obi Benson in 2005 from lung cancer, Levi Stubbs in 2008 after battling illness, those spared public scandals. Their quiet exits showed Motown's brutal toll, endless shows, prolonged stress, and financial exploitation left devastating marks. The Four Tops once captivated America with soulful emotion. Behind their hits was a heavy price for staying in the light. The Four Tops were drained by Motown's grind, but the Marvelettes' pain lingered longer. The first female group to bring Motown chart-topping glory paid with their youth and dignity. In 1961, four girls from Inkster, Michigan: Gladys Horton, Wanda Young, Katherine Anderson, and Georgiana Tillman entered Hitsville, USA, driven to escape poverty and racism. When Please Mr. Postman hit #1 on Billboard late that year, Motown's first chart topper, they thought their dream had come true. But the light they touched was a fleeting mirage under Barry's tight grip. The Marvelettes were molded into model ladies' tight dresses, synchronized moves, constant smiles despite exhaustion from endless tours. They worked relentlessly, sometimes recording 20 hours a day. Though they scored hits like Don't Mess with Bill in 1966, their royalties were a measly 2.7% after production and training costs. Gladys once held a paycheck, stunned that it couldn't buy a new dress, despite her million-selling record. The brutal workload frayed the group's bond. Georgiana Tillman was diagnosed with lupus in 1965 and had to quit. Motown swiftly replaced her. Dismissing sentiment, the family spirit that held them together vanished. By 1970, no longer profitable, the Marvelettes were dropped. Gladys tried a solo path, but failed. In 2007, Georgiana died from lupus complications. Wanda Young, lost to addiction, passed in 2021. The group that paved Motown's way was crushed and forgotten by that same machine. Their music endures, a testament to lives broken chasing a hollow dream. Smokey Robinson's story, a pillar of the Motown sound, fits the same cruel pattern. In 1959, the 19-year-old stepped into Hitsville, USA, with a silky voice and genius songwriting. Leading the Miracles, he was a singer, producer, and creator of classics like Shop Around Motown's first million seller, cementing its place in music. His bond with Berry Gordy was once close, but even that didn't shield him from the label's cold control behind the stage. Smokey became Berry's hit machine, not just for himself, but for artists like The Temptations and Mary Wells. In return, he faced a punishing grind recording, performing endless image training classes. Despite steady success, Smokey felt trapped in a relentless cycle. Tracks of My Tears in 1965 was a veiled cry. Its breakup lyrics echoed his hidden pain as his marriage to Claudette Rogers began to crack. By 1967, rumors about Smokey's sexuality surfaced within Motown, though unproven. Berry pushed him to uphold a model man image. He was pressured to project a perfect life while wrestling inner conflicts. The strain of that facade led to prolonged stress and cocaine use as an escape. Amid the chaos, he left the Miracles in 1972 for artistic freedom, but stayed bound by Motown's unfair contracts. His 1975 album, A Quiet Storm, soared, but his profits were scraps after deductions. Only in 1988, after nearly 3 decades, did Smokey fully leave Motown. He tried rebuilding, but the years of exploitation left deep marks. His marriage collapsed in 1986, partly from the toll of his Motown years, though still performing. Smokey carries unhealed wounds. In a rare reflection, he called Motown a beautiful dream, but also a nightmare. His voice and love songs enchanted millions, but the cost was loneliness, pressure, and self-loss. His sacrifice underscores Motown's ruthlessness, sparing no one, not even Berry's closest allies. Smokey wasn't alone. The Miracles' other members, Claudette Rogers, Bobby Rogers, Ronnie White, and Pete Moore, formed in 1959, also suffered under Motown's shadow. Their 1960 hit, Shop Around, launched them, but the price was steep. Berry demanded perfection, glossy suits, tight choreography, endless schedules. Though tracks of My Tears in 1965 solidified their place, Their pay didn't match, slashed by recording, training, and other costs. When Smokey left in 1972, the Miracles lost their heart. The group limped on with new members, but the old spark faded. Motown, focused on fresh stars, lost interest. By 1978, the Miracles disbanded. Members like Bobby Rogers and Ronnie White fell into poverty. Ronnie died of leukemia in 1995. Bobby passed in 2012 from diabetes complications. The group that trailblazed for Motown's empire was drained and discarded. Their music lives on. But behind the melodies are lives quietly worn away. Even lesser-known acts weren't spared. Stevie Wonder, a musical genius, bore deep scars from Motown despite his heights. In 1961, at 11 blind Stevie, then Little Stevie Wonder, entered Hitsville USA, born poor in Detroit. He mastered harmonica, piano, drums, and a soulful voice. Barry saw him as a rare gem to elevate the label. Just 2 years later, Fingertips made the 13-year-old a Billboard #1, stunning America. But behind his bright smile were pressures no one saw. Stevie soon felt Motown's chokehold. His talent boxed into a cheerful prodigy image. Packed tour schedules, simple pop-soul songs, and curated suits served white audiences' tastes. Though he craved his own sound, he was forced into the label's formula. When Uptight, Everything's All Right hit in 1966, 16-year-old Stevie stood under lights with a nameless burden. It didn't stop there. His earnings were tightly controlled, roughly 2.7% royalties after deductions. At times, he slept on tour buses during relentless trips, barely eating properly. At 21 in 1971, taking financial control. Stevie was stunned to find his trust fund nearly empty. Harsh contracts had siphoned most of his decade's work. Unbowed, Stevie fought back. He quietly crafted Where I'm Coming From, his first personal project with deep vision. Barry hesitated, wanting Stevie to stick to safe hits, but Stevie pressed on. In 1972, Music of My Mind marked his maturity as an artist. Albums like Inner Visions 1973 and Songs in the Key of Life 1976 won critical acclaim and Grammys, cementing his unmatched status. Even with more creative freedom, Stevie battled to own his music. In 1980, he signed a fairer Motown deal but never forgot the exploitation. He once likened Motown to a tough school that forged him through sweat, tears, and pain. He survived, became a legend, but paid with years of restriction, lost earnings, and stifled creativity. His music changed the world, but staying true in Motown's grind took relentless fight. Like Stevie, Diana Ross, Motown's brightest star, carried lasting scars, despite Barry's favoritism. In 1959, at 15, she joined Hitsville USA with Florence Ballard and Mary Wilson as the Premettes, later the Supremes. Her light, sultry voice and elegant look made her Motown's ideal commercial face. When Where Did Our Love Go hit #1 in 1964, Diana became the center of all eyes. But that shine came at a cost isolation and harsh control. Barry threw her into a ceaseless cycle of recording, touring, and image training to craft a perfect lady. She learned to walk, talk, even hold a glass with class, shedding her street edge. As the Supremes churned out hits like Baby Love and Stop in the Name of Love, Diana stood at fame's peak but felt like a puppet. Every detail, songs, outfits, public appearances was under Barry's strict watch. Their romance, starting in 1965, became part of the image strategy. Diana longed to be loved for herself, but felt possessed by a man guarding Motown's treasure. Behind the dazzle were years of pressure, her personal freedom crushed by an entertainment empire's ambition. In 1967, with Florence gone, Diana became the Supremes' core. Her star rose, but her bond with Mary Wilson frayed. Fans called her arrogant, but beneath the glamour, was a woman haunted by fear of being replaced, of failing Berry's expectations. In 1970, Diana went solo. Ain't No Mountain High Enough launched her to new heights, but Motown's ties lingered. Even as a top star, her earnings were a fraction of the label's profits. Only in 1981 did she break free, signing with RCA for creative control. She shone with hits like Endless Love, but never forgot Motown's constraints. In a later interview, she admitted Berry lifted her, but confined her in a stifling mold. Diana marched on, a legend, but paid with stress, lost bonds, and deep wounds. Diana's path mirrored the Supremes, Motown's most successful female group, but a prime victim of its brutal system. After Florence's exit, Diana, Mary Wilson, and Cindy Birdsong kept racking up hits like You Can't Hurry, Love and Love Child. But grueling schedules and pressure to stay polished drained them. Berry's 2.7% royalties, minus deductions, left them scraping by despite chart-topping success. When Diana left in 1970, the Supremes lost their soul. Mary and Cindy pressed on with new members, but the old magic was gone. By 1977, the group dissolved. Mary tried a solo path but was ignored by Motown, which chased newer stars, the Supremes. A glittering icon of Motown's golden age, were abandoned by their maker, leaving a scarred legacy beneath the shine. Motown didn't just wound artists, it hurt itself. The decline began in 1972 when Berry moved Motown from Detroit to Los Angeles, aiming to build a multimedia empire spanning music, film, and TV. But Detroit wasn't just a place, it was Motown's soul, leaving it severed ties with artists who'd shaped the brand. Stars like Martha Reeves and the Four Tops felt betrayed. Hitsville USA, once a hit factory, became a dusty relic. Los Angeles glitz couldn't replace Detroit's raw, vibrant spirit. Berry's oversized ambition distracted from music the foundation of his rise. Though Lady Sings the Blues with Diana Ross drew buzz, it drained funds and creativity. The new California studio, though modern, lacked the spark of Hitsville. Veteran producers like Norman Whitfield left, frustrated with the new direction. The once precise machine slowed, creaking. Unfair contracts, long a quiet issue, became a fatal flaw. Low royalties after deductions pushed artists into financial limbo despite stage glory. In 1971, Stevie Wonder sued for control over his work and earnings. By 1981, Diana Ross walked away. That same year, Marvin Gaye, after bitter clashes, left too. Icons like the Marvelettes and the Four Tops were sidelined when they stopped profiting. In its quest for expansion, Motown forgot the people who were its lifeblood. As they left, not just artists vanished, Motown's soul faded. In 1976, the Jackson 5's departure dealt a crushing blow. The group, which earned millions with hits like I Want You Back, chafed at being locked into Berry's cheerful prodigy image. Controlled tightly, denied artistic freedom. They grew fed up with unfair contracts. Tensions flared when Jermaine Jackson married Berry's daughter and stayed, while his brothers left for Epic Records. Michael Jackson, later a global icon, never returned. Their exit wasn't just losing a star, it exposed Motown's core flaw. It had become a machine that exploited talent to exhaustion, not nurtured it. By the late 70s, Motown's pull waned as disco and rock dominated. Its classic soul sound felt dated. Berry tried refreshing with artists like Rick James. But hits like Super Freak couldn't save a fading empire. The Los Angeles studio, meant to replace Hitsville, stood empty and cold. Artists came and went like transients, lacking connection or inspiration. By 1983, financial woes hit hard as film ventures flopped and music revenue tanked. Motown, once untouchable, sank into debt. In 1988, Berry faced a bitter choice: sell Motown to MCA Records for $61 million. For him, it was a last-ditch save. For early artists, it was betrayal. The symbol of black pride, once a racial barrier breaker, was now a corporate brand. Barry retreated quietly, his gaze heavy with the weight of a man who'd dreamed of harmony but watched it crumble in his hands. Motown's fall wasn't just market shifts or bad business calls. It was a tragedy of a dream, corrupted by unchecked ambition. Berry Gordy, aiming to shape pop culture, built a mighty machine, but it crushed the souls who gave it life. Many paid dearly. Florence Ballard died in poverty. Tammi Terrell fell at a tender age. Paul Williams ended his life. Marvin Gaye perished in family tragedy. Survivors like Stevie Wonder, Diana Ross, and Smokey Robinson carry scars that never heal. In chasing immortality, Motown lost its heart.